Most of us are used to the idea of an actor getting a role and, acting the part. We'll even accept a stunt double for scenes where the actor needs to jump out of a plane. But for the most part, if we're watching Gary Busey, we want to see Gary Busey. Wait, why do we want to see Gary Busey again? Anyway, as it turns out, we're not always watching who we think we're watching, and that happens much more often than we realize. There have been plenty of times where actors were swapped out, and those of us in the audience never even noticed. Lena Headey. As Cersei Lannister, Lena Headey plays the ultimate villain on HBO's Game of Thrones. So viewers watched with a bit of sadistic glee when the character was literally and figuratively dressed down, and then paraded through the streets of King's Landing in nothing but smears of filth. The scene is intense and humiliating and drawn out so the audience can experience her awkward humiliation. The craziest part, however, is that we're not even watching Headey in the scene. The entire walk is performed by a body double, seamlessly merged with Headey's facial expressions and body language to make one awkward, horrible walk to the Red Keep. Brandon Lee. The son of legendary martial artist Bruce Lee, the charming and talented Brandon Lee was set to take Hollywood by storm. Sadly, while filming his breakout role in The Crow, Lee was shot by a prop gun that had a dummy round left in the chamber. He died after 6 hours in surgery. With only 8 days left of filming to complete the movie, Lee's mother and fiance both encouraged director Alex Proyas to finish the film. To complete it, Lee's friend and stunt double Chad Stahelski stood in for him while special effects were used to give him Lee's face. Meanwhile, another stunt double helped finish out some of the action scenes. The result is a movie in which Lee's role is perfect and there's no indication of the tragedy that befell him. Jennifer Aniston. Friends was a massive success, and Jennifer Aniston is arguably the biggest star it produced, which makes it all the more unusual that it took years after the show was off the air for someone to finally notice an episode where Aniston inexplicably disappears. A fan watching a Friends marathon happened to notice a strange scene, the one with the mugging, from the 9th season. Aniston is standing next to Matt LeBlanc, except that it's not Aniston at all. Seems that Aniston's stand-in was on set that day, and for whatever reason her scene wasn't edited to remove her from the shot. The presence of a stand-in isn't such a crazy thing. After all, stand-ins are on set to replace actors when they're not available. It's just that they usually don't end up in the final cut. Shemp Howard. The Three Stooges were under contract to produce 8 films in 1956. Unfortunately, 4 films into their contract, Stooge Shemp Howard died of a heart attack at age 60. And in the 1950s, no one gave a damn if you died or not. Your contract needed to be fulfilled, and thus was born the fake Shemp. Producer Jules White set about producing 4 brand new films, each starring Shemp, by cutting together old footage with new scenes featuring Joe Palma, an actor who had long filled supporting roles in Stooges films. They just filmed him from behind or with his face obscured. The deception was so obvious that its legacy still lives on today. The cast of Evil Dead. The term fake Shemp was actually coined by director Sam Raimi because he needed to use quite a few of them during production of Evil Dead. As star Bruce Campbell recounted in his memoir, If Chins Could Kill, because the film was so ultra low budget, Raimi and the actors couldn't always work on the same schedule. Raimi needed to film what he could, when he could, and with whom he could. This meant no fewer than 18 stand-ins were used during production. That's pretty incredible, as the end result shows no sign that so many extra people were involved, even though the film was still notoriously ridiculous. Paul Walker. Furious 7 was about halfway through filming when series star Paul Walker tragically died in an automobile accident. The production shut down temporarily so that the producers can consult with Walker's family on what they'd like to do. As the star of the film, there was no way to move forward without him, and there simply wasn't enough filmed already to try and cobble a movie together. Walker's family agreed that the movie should be finished. His 2 brothers volunteered as stand-ins, since both closely resembled the actor physically. With the help of the special effects crew at Weta, Cody and Caleb Walker were morphed into Paul Walker for the remainder of the film. Furious 7 went on to be the biggest hit of the franchise and one of the biggest films of all time, grossing over $1.5 billion. Harrison Ford. On the set of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, Harrison Ford suffered a pretty severe back injury that sidelined him for several weeks of filming. Steven Spielberg, however, was prepared for any eventuality. Ford was swapped with his longtime stunt double, Vic Armstrong. Armstrong acted so much like Ford that he managed to confuse Spielberg on set more than once. A number of action scenes were filmed without Ford, including the epic fight between Indy and the massive warrior on the mine conveyor belt. Crispin Glover. This may be the ultimate actor switcheroo. So egregious was this swap that it resulted in not just lawsuit against the producers, but new regulations for the Screen Actors Guild to prevent it from ever happening again. So, what happened? Crispin Glover refused to reprise his role as George McFly in the sequels to Back to the Future, due to a dispute over his salary, or maybe it was ethical concerns about the moral of the movie, depending on which story you believe. Unable to come to an agreement with Glover, producers recast the role with Jeffrey Weissman. Prosthetics were cast from Crispin Glover's face during the first movie so that Glover could look like an older man while playing Marty's dad. So, for Back to the Future 2, the director used a modified version of these prosthetics to transform Weissman into a Crispin Glover doppelganger. In essence, the film was trading on the actor's appearance without actually using them. After Glover's successful lawsuit, the Screen Actors Guild made it a rule that no actor's likeness could be stolen in such a way again. Glover, victorious, continued to be weird. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to watch more videos like the one you just saw, and leave us a comment to let us know which cinematic clone you think is the most impressive.